Sorry, I need coffee. It is early. I need coffee. It's very important. Oh, all right. Get the ends of this cord melted off. Morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunday finishing work. Ohayou gozaimasu. Chakabe. How dark is it outside? I mean, it's a little dark. The sun's just now starting to come up. Not too dark. Definitely early, though. I probably should have cut that off, but oh well. It was dark when I got here. It's always dark when I get here. Actually, I stopped for gas, and the cashier at the Circle K was like, "You're always in here so early in every single morning." And I'm like, "Yeah, I miss the days when I could sleep in." And what sucks is even when I try to sleep in, like, I can't. Like, I think the latest my body will let me sleep these days is like 7 in the morning, which is that's just bullshit. This morning I set my alarm for 6 a.m. You know, I was going to let myself sleep in a little bit, but at about 5:40, my brain just said, "No, time to wake up." So I was up at 5:40 this morning, which is fine. It's only 20 minutes, but still. Why will my brain not let me just sleep until my alarm goes off? That's what I would prefer. I would prefer to just sleep until my alarm goes off. Doesn't my brain know that I don't want to wake up until the alarm goes off at the time I set it for? Oh gosh, this stupid paracord won't burn off. Come on. There we go. I keep doing it too early. Oh well. There, that's good enough. Yes, we're gonna melt the tips off of this cord real quick, and then I'm gonna get started cording up some steaks. We got vampire steaks to cord up. It's my last week, basically, of builds for the Halloween season. And then starting next week, I'll start building my inventory for the holidays. I know you guys are probably tired of, God, why? You guys are probably tired of watching me make vampire steaks at this point. I've been making vampire steaks, feels like every weekend for the last couple of months. There we go. All right, I think that's all the paracord that I need to do. How'd that go? Never tired for the steaks. Now these are my hard maple basic steaks. I normally don't have as many of these in stock as I do right now, but I normally make these from cutoffs from my Joe Staff blanks when I make Joe Stabs. And I sold out of Joe Stabs earlier this month, and I went to make replacement Joe Stabs, and all of my blanks, I had 2 blanks left, And the 2 blanks I had left were both irredeemably warped. So I had to make stakes out of the blanks themselves instead of just the cutoffs. It's kind of crappy, but oh well. So we're gonna cord wrap the handles on these vampire stakes, and oh, thanks for the likes, everybody. All right, where did I put? Oh, there it is. Got to measure out the tip. I always make sure. If you've been on my lives before, you already know this. The number one rule for stakes when you're making them is that they need to have at least 6 inches of stabbing tip in order to reach the heart. If you have a stake and your stabbing tip is not at least 6 inches, then you're just going to piss off the vampire. So please don't do that. Yes, just the tip. There, Dr. Faye. These have about a little over a 7-inch stabbing tip. And I usually measure the handles out at about 4 inches, which is a respectable size, 4 inches, for a handle. Hey, what's up, Jomo? How you doing? Welcome to Sunday Finishing Work at Warrior Wood and Props. If you guys got any questions about vampire hunting or supernatural creatures in general, in my other job, or one of my other jobs, I am a mythologist. I write mythology books for Penguin Random House. Right now, I'm working for their DK publishing arm out of the UK. Working on a series of encyclopedias on all kinds of weird stuff. I did one on supernatural creatures, one on legendary heroes, and I'm working on one called The Unknown. That's about weird paranormal stuff. So if you got any weird questions, I'm doing all right, Jomo. Thanks for asking. It's a little early, but can't complain. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so if you got questions about vampires or vampire hunting or fighting any other kinds of weird supernatural creatures, I've got so much of that useless information in my head. So feel free to ask me any question you want to. Really looking forward to once I get done for today. I get to go home. And I'm going to do a bad movie today. I didn't get to do one last week. I always do kind of a bad movie. I watch and review a bad movie every Sunday. Last Sunday, I was just wiped out. I'm doing The Burbs this time, which I take a little bit of an issue with that I'm doing The Burbs because, in my opinion, The Burbs is a great movie. I don't know how the internet decided it's a bad movie. But it has a really bad Rotten Tomatoes score and IMDb score, so I'm going to review that movie so I can show people how freaking awesome it is. If you've never seen The Burbs, it is on Tubi. Right now, it stars Tom Hanks and Corey Feldman when he was younger, before he kind of got weird. And Tom Hanks' wife is played by Carrie Fisher. She, Princess Leia, she's in it. Really good movie. It's probably one of the best horror comedies, in my opinion, ever made. But somehow, I'm not quite sure how, the internet decided it's a bad movie. And in my opinion, the internet can suck it. Because The Burbs is freaking amazing. It's like... I always describe The Burbs to people as if, like, the Addams Family moved into a neighborhood, and instead of seeing it from the Addams Family point of view, you saw it from their neighbor's point of view. It's kind of what it's like. And also, if the Addams Family were murderous psychopaths, which they kind of are, but they're not like mean to like regular not normal. What's the word I'm looking for? They're not mean to good people. There's kind of a trickster element to the Addams Family. I feel like if you don't mess with the Addams Family, they don't really mess with you. But if you want to be a dick, The Addams family would love to knock you down a peg. Which is kind of how tricksters are. So that's why I said they kind of have a trickster element to them. All right, one steak down. 3 more to go. We're also going to do, I've got some new Yawara, new pocket Yawara that I made out of a new wood that I came across in my shop. They're made out of Palfero, which is this. Palfero, one of the strongest woods on the planet, by the way. It's got like a 4,000 pound Jenka hardness, which means it can withstand a 4,000 pounds of force. That's pretty impressive. Well, the weird thing was, though, when I got it kind of by accident, an acquaintance of mine gifted a lot of Kumaru wood, which is this stuff, to my shop. And we weren't sure what kind of wood it was when he gave it to me. I knew it was a hardwood. So I went to identify the wood, and I took a picture of one of these boards, and these were made out of, and it said it was Kumaru. So I thought all of it was Kumaru. But then when I started working with it, I grabbed a board, and the board was this one, which obviously looks different. And I wasn't really paying attention. And this is the one board in the entire lot that's not Kumaru. This is Palfero. He forgot to tell me he put that in there. So good for me. Man, at Palfero. So I made a couple of limited edition steaks. I was going to make all the limited edition steaks for this Halloween season out of the Kumaru. But because I made the first one out of the Palfero, and I had already cut up the rest of that board for Yawara, I ended up only making 2 of the limited edition steaks. One of them's already sold. So now I only have 1 left. But every Halloween starting this year moving forward, I will design 1 special limited edition steak that'll be made out of an exotic wood. It will have a unique design. I will make, in future years, I'll probably make 12 to 15 of them. And then each one will come with a certificate of authenticity with a serial number to let you know which one in the series it is. And once those are sold, I will never make that design of steak with that kind of wood ever again. That combination will never happen again. So I know I said we were going to talk about vampires. No one seems to have any questions, so I'm going to start going off on my my Vampire Hunter Pro tips. They're for vampire hunting, Jomo. In vampire lore, one of the ways to kill a vampire is to drive a wooden stake through their heart. And so for Halloween season, I tend to sell a lot of them to people who are making or who are doing vampire hunter costumes for Halloween. Right now, it seems like this year, a lot of people are doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer because apparently they're planning to do a reboot of Buffy. So a lot of people are back on the Buffy cosplay. But as far as the original old school Romanian lore and Wallachian lore on vampires, wooden stakes, all right, if you're going to use them, there are rules to using wooden stakes to kill a vampire. It's not like in the movies where you can just stab them in the heart, pull the stake out, and they die immediately. That's not how that works. The first rule, like I already said, is that you got to have at least 7 inches of stabbing tip to reach the heart of the vampire, because that is the distance from the sternum to the heart. The average distance, anyway. If you have a vampire who's maybe like overweight or especially muscular, you might need a longer one. It kind of depends. But for the most part, from the sternum to the heart, it's about 6 inches. So you need at least 6 inches of stabbing tip. Second rule, never, ever, ever stake a vampire with a stake made from evergreen wood. That is one of those rules that never shows up in pop culture. I've never seen it in a book. I've never seen it in a movie. But yeah, if The theory behind that being that evergreen woods in Romanian folklore were associated with immortality. The idea was that since the vampires are immortal beings, if you were to stake one with an evergreen wood, it would not kill it. And there's some obscure parts of the lore that say not only will it not kill the vampire, but because the wood has like magical supernatural properties, it will actually make the vampire stronger. So I don't know if that part of the lore is accurate or not, but I don't know if we want to be testing that. So if you're going to be fighting an actual vampire, make sure your stakes are not made from like pine or fir or any of the evergreen woods. You don't want to do that. You want to work with woods that are not evergreen. The next part of the lore that is important, the next rule when it comes to staking vampires, that wooden stakes in original Romanian lore don't exactly kill vampires. Sort of, but not really. Once you've staked the vampire, they will go into a state as if they are dead. They won't move, they'll be frozen. So, but that's just step one. The idea is that stabbing it into the heart kind of freezes the vampire, makes the vampire unable to move. So from there, your work is not quite done. Because if that vampire's corpse falls under the light of the next full moon, it will regenerate and resurrect. The stake will be pushed out and it will come back to life. So it's very important that after you stake the vampire, you cut off its head and you burn the remains. That's the last step. And the last rule, after you stake the vampire, you chop off his head and you burn the remains. Just to be safe. And then you bury the remains after that. Because in some lore, if you don't bury them, then you could possibly get like a weird wraith situation. Hey, what's up, Dusty? Welcome. We're talking about vampires this morning. Vampire hunting specifically. In Romania, the fun part, I love the Romanian stuff because those people, man, they committed to their lore. So in Romania, there was actually a design of casket that was sold. It was especially popular around like the 18th and 19th century. That the lid of the coffin at about neck height had a large guillotine-like blade, and at about where your chest would be, there was a stake that was attached to the lid. So when you would bury your loved one, when you closed the casket, it beheaded and staked the person. So that way you could make sure that your loved one did not come back as a damned, cursed member of the undead. I have one too. You thought it was the only one trying to get resized before the winter season. I have one what? I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand there, Cranix Dragon. I'm not sure. Maybe I missed the context somewhere. I'm not sure what we're talking about. But yeah, I have a lot of vampire stakes. I probably have the widest selection of vampire stakes you're gonna find anywhere. You may be asking why. I love working with cutoffs. I think that cutoffs get tossed out and used for, they get used for mulch, or they get used for people that do resin turning and stuff like that. But I like to make sure I use all the wood in my shop, and I think that vampire stakes are fun to make. And they're kind of the perfect thing when I have a cutoff, that's about, 10 to 12 inches. I'll always, if I can't think of anything else to make out of it, I'll make a stake out of it. But I have all kinds. I've got fancy ones. I've got basic ones. I've got stained ones. I've got sword ones. This is another one we're gonna handle wrap this one this morning. That's also hard maple. That was made from a cutoff at a job site I was at, I think last week or maybe week before. I don't remember. they were they had some cutoffs from some custom molding that they had done, and they were gonna toss it. So they let me raid their trash, and I grabbed some cutoffs. Yours tend to have a base. Oh, your steaks. Yeah, I've got some that have like a stop point at the handle, so that your hand doesn't slip. These, that's why I grip these. I put a grip wrap on it so that they don't slip. Although please don't stake anyone with my stakes, please. If you're fighting an actual vampire, okay. You know, I'm not gonna say no in that highly unlikely scenario, but please be sure that it's a vampire. Do the proper tests, because the thing about stakes is they also kill regular people, not just vampires. So be very sure before you go around staking. I don't want to, like I was saying before, I don't want to end up on the news like that. I don't want to end up on the news as the guy that sold a steak to somebody who staked a human being who they thought was a vampire. But yeah, one thing we were talking about last week, which I find interesting, is if you've ever seen like the Blade movies, a lot of the stuff in those movies also comes from Romanian vampire lore, like the garlic and revenants and stuff like that. Garlic I find funny because garlic in pop culture has kind of been, its relationship to vampires has kind of been misunderstood. Even in the old lore, garlic didn't actually harm vampires. It was more like a repellent. Nice, bro. Jay, bro. You went trout fishing? Good to go. But garlic goes back to the plague, or the period of the plague. We used to have kind of a misguided belief that bad smells caused illness. That was a thing the medical community believed up until just a few hundred years ago, probably. They believed that bad smells caused sickness. And so garlic was considered a remedy because the pungent, heavy odor of garlic would overpower other smells. The belief was that it would block, sicknesses. And since vampirism was kind of seen as an illness of sorts, they believed that garlic would be a deterrent for vampires who were infected with it. That also goes back to like plague masks. Like plague doctors, they would wear plague masks and it would be shoved full of potpourri because the nose would, because they thought that would keep the bad smells out and then they wouldn't get sick. What's funny though is that those plague masks actually did keep them from getting sick, just not for the reason they thought. That's the funny part of that. Humans often come to the right conclusions for the wrong reasons, and that's definitely one of those situations where that happened. But the masks did work. The plague doctors didn't get as sick, which they saw it as a correlation to their theory that bad smells caused. They felt like it reinforced their belief that bad smells caused illness, which is why that belief stuck around for as long as it did. When in fact it was just they were covering their nose and mouth and weren't breathing in microorganisms that cause sickness. Jay, bro, are you seriously coming into a live where we're doing vampire hunter stakes to talk about fishing? I feel like you came to the wrong one. Oh, that's funny. Well, congratulations on your fishing trophies there, my man. Oh, good gracious. And if you guys got any questions on vampire hunting or monsters or supernatural creatures in general, Like I said, I got a lot of useless information in this brain related to that, so feel free to ask me a question and I will answer it. Something fishing related. I am making some Polynesian stuff right now. I've got some. One thing I am actually planning on making in the near future is one of those fishing hook war clubs. I don't have a piece of wood for it quite yet. I need to find a piece that's got the right grain structure for me to do that. Otherwise, a lot of times people don't realize when you make something that's curved or hooked, especially something as big as that of a fishing hook style war club, you got to make sure that the grain is following the curve as much as possible. Otherwise, it's going to snap because you're going to have grain going across. I'm going to make a female vampire very happy? Probably. You know, it's funny though. Like I honestly have really nothing against vampires. This is mostly like a movie thing. I know there are people out there that believe they're vampires, that's their thing. They're not, in my opinion, they're not hurting anybody. Or one time I was at an event for, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, A&E had a show called Paranormal State. And I got invited to a few events that group hosted. The Paranormal Research Society hosted, and one of them, we were in New Orleans, and they had me, I was giving lectures, and they gave me a booth to do like merch while I was there. And they put me right next to Michelle Ballinger, which, if you guys don't know who Michelle Ballinger is, she wrote the Vampire Codex. She's a psychic vampire. And here I am at the table next to her, and I've got vampire hunting kits and stakes that I had made back then. And I'm like, I promise I'm not planning on staking anyone. Michelle looked over at my table like, what the hell are you doing? Really nice lady, though. She was very, very kind and understanding. And had a good sense of humor about it. Fish bonkers, like a fish bopper? It depends. I mostly make fish boppers custom. J-Bro, most of my fish boppers are custom orders. It depends on what kind of wood you want. That's really kind of what it comes down to. No, I don't, because I sometimes I'll put blood effects if it's like requested, but for the most part I don't. Mostly because I feel like that some people want blood effects, some people don't want blood effects, and it's not that hard to use like some red nail polish or a little red paint to put some blood on it. No, I don't normally do blood effects unless it's requested, just because some people want that, some people don't, and in the past when I've put blood effects on stuff, I find that I've had people who were like, if only it didn't have the blood effects on it, I would buy it. So I feel like people who want blood effects, they'll just buy it, and it's not hard to get red nail polish and just splatter it on there. The Polynesian hooks are made from seashells. Oh, you mean like the small fishing hooks? Yeah, they are. But I'm talking about like the war clubs, the fish hook war clubs. Those are a different thing. They just kind of have the shape of a fish hook. So, J-Bro, like I'll give you an example. Like you want a hardwood, definitely, but you want something light because you don't want it to be super heavy. The last fish bopper that I made, I think, was made out of orange osage. Was the last one I made, which is a good wood. It's light. It's a hardwood. I've got some orange osage. For a fish bopper, I would recommend like hickory or orange osage, something that's strong but also not too heavy. That would be my recommendation, J-Bro. But yes, I do make fish boppers, but mostly just as custom orders. I don't normally keep them in stock. Probably should. I probably should keep them in stock, but I don't. probably for the holidays, when I start beefing up my inventory for the holidays, I might make some to have on the shop. No, you're welcome. I gotta wipe down some stuff. Give me 1 second, guys. Got some stuff that I tongue oiled today that needs to get buffed out. This is another wood, J-Bro, that would be good for a fish bopper. This is white ash. Unfortunately, I don't have any white ash that's thick enough right now, and it's really hard to come by. I'm actually down to my last few boards of white ash that I had, that I got. White ash here in the U.S. Doesn't sell often because we got an infestation of something called the emerald ash borer, which is a beetle that eats ash wood. It was an invasive species, really messed up ash forests here in the U.S. And so, so they're not, it's hard to get like a thick piece of white ash, unfortunately. So I only have like 3/4 inch boards of white ash because that's all I could get. But I have some thicker pieces of like American hickory, orange osage, some bigger stuff that definitely would work as a fish bopper. But the price would really depend on what kind of wood you chose and how long you wanted it to be. That would be the main thing. We're gonna do, and this is one of my Shoto bokeh. I've been selling out of these lately, so I've made a few over the last couple of weeks, trying to keep them in stock. So one thing that sucks with eBay, I've only been on eBay for a little while, but maybe like a year, and eBay's, if you sell out of an item, it doesn't really tell you you've sold out of an item, and it's hard to, and it delists it, so, and it removes it from your inventory, so you have to like track down the last order somebody made, and you have to do that within so many days, and it's just a pain in the ass. Otherwise, you have to redo the listing all over again. So with stuff that sells regularly, I try to keep it in stock on eBay. So these need to go in the rag clean. There, put that over there so I don't forget. Oh. Oh. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sunday Finishing Work. Hey, thanks for the likes, guys. I appreciate that. If you got any questions about what I'm doing or about vampires or supernatural creatures in general, we're celebrating spooky season. This is my last weekend of builds for Halloween, and I'm starting to move towards doing stuff for the holidays. I got some yellow heart palm sticks. These are already up on the shop. I've got some in stock already. I just had a couple pieces of yellow heart that I needed to get made. So yellow heart's a good wood. It's yellow, but it's strong. It's insect resistant and decay resistant. Most colored exotic woods are resistant to insects and decay. So, you know, like purple heart, yellow heart, Padauk, stuff like that. What are watery supernatural creatures that you can attract with wood? I don't know. Well, sirens, I don't know if you can attract them with wood. I don't feel like sirens spend a lot of time being attracted to anything. That's a different kind of wood. I don't feel like sirens are trying to be attracted to anything. Sirens usually do the attracting, so. Not super professional to buff this with my shirt, but the tongue oil had a weird spot. Yeah, that's good. I apologize for constantly taking my glasses off and on. My eyes are getting old. And I have trouble focusing up close. So I have bifocals, but in order to use those, I have to constantly lift my head back to use the bifocals, and it annoys the shit out of me. Plus, it makes me look like it makes me look like somebody's grandfather. And like, my oldest daughter is finally like at the age where that's a possibility at some point. Like, she's getting married in January. So I feel like the grandfather title's coming at some point. You know, what are you gonna do? Had to happen eventually, right? Here's White Ash Tenarashi Tessen, Japanese war fan style war club. These were used as a substitute for actual war fans. A Tenarashi just kind of means practice stick, which people who do Tessen Jutsu and Koppo Jutsu and Kobudo, and I think Japanese traditional Jiu-Jitsu and maybe Aikido, they still practice with these because you use them for wrist locks. You can use them as a bludgeoning weapon. Well, yeah, I have these in just about every kind of wood I have. I hadn't made one out of white ash yet, so I did a white ash one this week. I've got white ash, gray elm, zebra wood, purple heart, padauk. Yeah, just I think yellow heart. Just about any wood I have in the shop, I've made at least one Tessen out of. I haven't made one out of hickory. I don't know if I'm going to. American hickory doesn't really seem to fit with a Japanese war fan club, so. All right, so these are done. And put these over here. Because I keep forgetting to do finished works videos. And what drives me nuts is, like, last week I did a finished works video. I shot a finished works video on Sunday. And I have been posting my finished work videos on like Wednesday or Thursday. The problem was last week, every new thing that I made last week was sold by like Monday. So like I put everything up on the shop on Sunday, and then Tuesday morning I woke up and everything I had made last week had already sold. So I'm like, I don't really know what the point is of doing a finished works video when everything is already gone. So this week I'm going to start after I do my live. I'm going to do a finished works video and just go ahead and post it in the afternoon, because I keep forgetting to either make or post them in the middle of the week, or stuff is selling before I have a chance to post them. So, which is a good problem to have, but it makes being consistent with my posts a little difficult. These are the ones I'm super excited for. These I've already got a couple up on the shop in stock of these Pal Faro Pocket Uara. And by the way, the price on a lot of stuff in my shop is going to go up in November because the postal service starts, and a lot of the carriers start charging extra premium. They start charging premium rates during the holidays. And I don't charge shipping. I just include the average shipping cost into the price of my items. Because I find that people would rather just do that. They don't really want to deal with like shipping. So I have to increase my prices when the postal service increases theirs. So if you want something cheap, like, because I will have a holiday sale, but my prices are going to be going up before the holiday sale. So if you want something for the holidays super cheap, now is definitely the time to get in on it. Because as of like November 2nd, everything in my shop, the prices are going to go up anywhere from 10 to 20% depending on the length. The longer stuff, if something's over 2 feet long, the price on that's going to go up about 20% because that's how much the postal service increases their prices. Or it's around that much that they increase their price. A little more than that, actually. It's insane how much they add on. And I lose money on some items when it comes to shipping, depending on where it's being shipped. Like if it's going to California, almost always lose money on sales if they're going to California, because it is expensive to ship to California, as I'm in Florida. So that is all the way on the other side of the country. Like California, Oregon, Washington State, those areas, it's always crazy expensive for me to ship there. So I only charge the average cost of shipping in my prices. So, you know, sometimes I make money on it, sometimes I lose money on it. It tends to even out, but let me give this one a quick wipe down too. All right. But yeah, these Pal Ferro pocket U are awesome. And I'm only going to be able to make what I have. So I think I only have enough to make 6 of these. I have these 2. I have 2 already in stock, and I have 2 more I'll be making next weekend. So that's it. Once those 6 are sold, I am out of Pal Ferro. So, and it's a very expensive and difficult wood to find. So I will not be, most likely will not be buying more Pal Ferro to make more, because it's a very expensive wood. And I don't know that people are going to be willing to pay what it would cost for me to make these out of Pal Ferro that I actually bought. Like I said, this Pal Ferro was gifted to my shop by a colleague of mine, and I appreciated him doing that. He sent it to me with a lot of Kumaru, because he was using it for fencing and cabinetry jobs, and he didn't have enough of it to do anything more with, so he sent it to me. And here we go. But yeah, this stuff has like a 4,000 pound force Jenka hardness. That's insane how hard that is. These are mostly used for 2 things. You mostly see these in guitar necks, like custom guitars they'll make in violins. They'll make the neck of it out of this because it's got a really pretty grain pattern. And you see it, magicians make magic wands out of these. Magic wands this is probably the most common wood for making magic wands. 1, because it's extremely strong, it doesn't warp. And 2, because in some old folklore in South America, this wood was associated with illusions. The creation and dispelling of illusions, this wood was said to be able to help with that in magic. So that's why they make magic wands out of these. Plus, it just looks cool. It's got kind of it reminds me a little bit of tiger wood in its appearance. It's darker than tiger wood, but all right, let's see. Now we've got these. These are Pahoa. These are Polynesian style daggers. These 2 that I've made are replicas of a museum piece that I had a custom order for, and I liked them. And I had this Kumaru wood, and it really looks good for these. So Kumaru wood, honestly, not that far off in strength. And it's like 3,600, I think, or 32 to 3,600 pound force Jenka hardness. That's still pretty impressive. It's still stronger than black walnut. So I used to make stuff out of black walnut, but I developed a sensitivity to it, so I don't work with it anymore. So most likely, this wood is the wood I'll start using. It's not super expensive. It's about the same price point as black walnut, so that's a wood I'm probably going to start using to replace using black walnut. Please ignore that I just did that. It's hard to get these through the hole. That's what she said. All right, there we go. Also, I'm sorry for that inappropriate joke. If you've never been to my streams before, that's pretty normal, honestly. When you're talking about wood and holes and oil, you know, you end up accidentally saying sexual innuendos all the time. But that wasn't on accident. That one was solely on purpose. There we go. This, what I thought was interesting with this Pahoa design, when I saw it, I thought, like, I make wooden daggers. I have tons of different kinds of wooden daggers in my shop. But this one, honestly, has more of like a prison shiv kind of design to it. Like, this is something that this could be used repeatedly. Like, a lot of wooden daggers are more of a one and done. Like this maple one, if you were to stab someone with this, like your tip, it would work, but your tip would probably be done after about 1 or 2 strikes. This, not going to be the case. Like this is super sharp. This wood has the tightest wood like grain pattern I've ever seen. It's almost non-existent. But yeah, this is a great stabby. That's a Polynesian style dagger. Like I said, I had a custom order. Somebody wanted me to do a replica of a museum piece. And I did that one, but I figured I should make a few more. Because I had someone else right after I made the custom one for him. I had someone come up and ask if I could make one for them. So like, all right, so I'm just gonna make. I got one of these as custom, and the other one's going up on the shop. And I've got another one in the inventory room that'll go up too. So I should have at least 3 of these in stock, I think. At least 2, maybe 2. I think I'll have 2 of them in stock today. And when I put these up. Oh, you don't believe me? Is that what it is? You don't believe me? It's accident. Absolutely accidental. At least 90% of the time, my sexual innuendos are accidental. Not always, though. So yeah, there we go. So we got a couple Pahoa. One is slightly longer than the other. Unfortunately, this one, when I was carving out the tip, just the tip, when I was carving out the tip, there was a slight imperfection in the wood, and I want to make sure the tip is as strong as possible, so I had to grind it down a little deeper. So I grind it down deeper. And got a good tip. Hey, what's up, Captain Ken? Welcome back, man. I've been good. How have you been? We were talking about vampires, and then I was discussing these Pahoa daggers that I just got finished making. I'm gonna put these up, and then we got one more piece this morning. Man, I'm burning through it this morning. I figured it would take me longer to get all this stuff done. Oh, we can do some show and tell. That's not, at least it didn't drop on the tip, at least. That would have been no good. All right. And put this here. All right. And then this is the last piece I'm cord wrapping. Chocolate was my wood. Well, I mean, all of my wood's on sale on eBay, so just go on eBay and everyone can have my wood. See? That's my wood's for everybody. I don't discriminate. Anyway, yeah, you can go on eBay and buy my wood. It's for sale. What do you guys think? For this one, do you think I should do white or black, or maybe like this more natural jute color? What do you guys think? I feel like black's not really going to contrast very well. What do you guys think? Fellow Van Halen fan? Is that what VH stands for? Or vampire hunting. Vampire hunting? Is that what VH is? I don't know. But anyway, what do you guys think? Oh, 5150, right? What do you guys think? White, black, or natural on the cord? I'm leaning towards natural, but I don't know. It's a little more finished looking. It does have. There was one area where like tool marks you can see on the blade, but you know, honestly, I feel like it kind of gives it. Looks like it's been used, so I like that. It gives it kind of a lived-in look. So what do you guys think? Natural, white, or black? Help me make a decision here. If no one gives me an opinion, I will just do the natural jute cord. Also, thanks for the like. Sorry, I have trouble paying attention when I'm doing this. Black, but here's the thing: it's a really dark stain. I don't know that the black is going to stick out very well. Does vampire hunting exist? I mean, as an occupation, as far as I know, there is only one guy on the planet. I don't even know if he's still alive who claims to be an actual vampire hunter. His name is Reverend Sean Manchester. You can look him up. Look up the Highland Cemetery vampire and Sean Manchester. SEAN, I think is how he spells it. Reverend, by the way, in quotation marks. Sean Manchester convinced people back in like the mid to late 70s that there was a vampire living in the Highgate Cemetery. The Highgate Cemetery is a very, very famous cemetery in the UK. There's a lot of prominent people are buried there, like from British history. And he convinced people that there was a young lady that was being tormented by a vampire that lived in Highgate Cemetery. He claimed that he hunted down and staked that vampire, and he provided some very questionable evidence, like photographic evidence of it, not of him staking the vampire, but of some other stuff. He also claimed that he was attacked by like a 5 foot wide spider, 5 foot long spider, while he was something like that while he was in the cemetery. Like, not 5 feet. I think he said it was like the size of a large dog. That's a big freaking spider. But he claimed to have fought a vampire, and then he spent the rest of his days basically hunting vampires. He never really had another case that made it into the media. He ended up on some talk shows, I think, at some point. Jute color, yeah, I think jute color is right. I think jute color will look better. The only thing with black, it's just this stain is so dark. I don't know that the black really contrasts at all. Let me throw this away real quick so it's not in my way. I probably should get a trash can in here, but I never do. Just like I need to put I need to get a better chair, but I keep forgetting. So all right, so we're gonna go with the natural. Thank you for helping me make a decision. The black, I don't know. The black was the one I was the least sure about, but the white I thought would contrast well. But white doesn't always look great against stain, not with something that's kind of fancy. Like this is a little fancy, but I think the natural jute will look good. And another nice thing about my stuff is the way that I do my cord wraps for handles and stuff. It's not hard to remove. It's not hard to replace. So I don't use adhesives most of the time, unless it's on something that's going to take impacts. I don't use an adhesive. So you can take it off. You're not going to have glue underneath it or anything like that. Once you see how I did it, when you receive it, you'll be like, okay, I can redo that. Because it's just, you have an anchor cord that goes down to the bottom of the handle. You go up to the top and you just wrap around it on the way down. And then when you get to the bottom, you cut this and you tie the two ends together, and it creates a friction fit that holds everything in place. That's why I do my handle wraps this way, because handle wraps, sometimes people don't like them or they want to replace them, or sometimes they just come loose. Sometimes it happens. So you want to make sure to do something that's easy to replace. If I do a super fancy one or something, or if I glue it on, if it comes loose or they decide they want to change it or update the look, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass for them, and I don't want that. But yeah, I think that's good. That gives a good contrast for the handle, and doesn't look too refined, but it also doesn't look too messy. So I think natural jute was a good choice. This one, I usually sell stuff like this as like a primitive dagger, but it also works as like as a vampire hunter prop as well, because technically it's still a wooden stabbing tip, and it's not really fashioned after anything, so I don't sell it as a replica of any kind. I try to be as honest as I can in my descriptions of what stuff is. Unless something is a replica, I don't call it a replica. One thing also I don't do is I don't claim my stuff as antique. Be careful, you guys. If you go on eBay or Amazon or a lot of these sites, if someone's trying to sell you like an antique vampire hunter kit, chances are it's not. It's not antique. It's they put it together themselves. They bought some old looking items. Maybe a few of the items in it might be an antique, but like the kit itself is not going to be an antique. How many hours do I have into this steak? Not many. I've been making stuff like this for years. Usually when I make something like this, the first time I make it, it takes me a while, probably about an hour to make. Then after the first one, I kind of am able to develop a process. So every time I make it, I get faster. This one took me to shape it out. Probably took me about 10 to 15 minutes. But that's the easy part. Shaping it out. I can shape this out on an abrasive grinder fairly easily. The sanding is what takes a while. I spend every Saturday when I come into the shop, I start shaping out my projects at about 7:30. I usually do about 10 to 16 projects. I'm usually done shaping out my projects by 9:30. So, I can get about anywhere from 10 to 16 projects done in 2 hours. Some are longer than others. Some things don't take me long at all. Some things take a little longer. Stuff like this takes just a little longer because I have to, doing that blade edge is not easy to get that as symmetrical as possible. It's never perfectly symmetrical because I do it all by hand, but it's close. And then at 9:30, I usually start sanding, and I sand until about 12:30. So it takes me about 2 hours, a little less than about 1 to 2 hours to shape out everything out, and about 3 to 4 hours to sand everything. Sanding takes the most time. Sanding, and everything gets sanded. Not everything gets sanded up to 1,000 grit. I used to sand everything up to 1,000, but it's not always necessary. So like stuff, I think this one got sanded to about 400 grit. But I start at 120 grit, then I do 180 grit, 220 grit, 320 grit, 400 grit, 600 grit, 800 grit, 1,000 grit. That's so, and it takes about 30 minutes to an hour to do each round of sanding. Depending, as I get higher, it takes less time because there's some stuff that I only sand up to a certain grit. What's the steak for? It's for vampire hunting, my guy. What else would it be for? What's up, Brett? Thanks for the question. This is a fancy vampire hunter short sword. Just doing my last week of Halloween orders. And by the way, everybody, if you need to order something for Halloween, if you live anywhere west of Texas, I highly recommend you get your orders in this weekend. Get it in by Monday. Like Tuesday is the official cutoff, but if you want to be absolutely sure that it gets to you, I would recommend you need to order your stuff by the end of today to make sure it reaches you in time for Halloween. If you live in Texas or anywhere east of Texas, I would highly recommend getting your orders in before Friday, October 24th. October 24th is pretty much the cutoff. Like if you live in the eastern half of the U.S., if you order after October 25th, there is no guarantee that it is going to reach you. And I do not ship priority mail unless it is requested and the person pays for it. So most of my stuff goes ground advantage, which on the eastern half of the U.S. means it gets to you in about 4 to 6 days. So, and if you're on the west coast or the west side of the country, it usually gets to you. Sometimes it gets to you in 4 days, depends. But it gets to you anywhere from between like 4 to 10 days. So you need to have ordered before the 21st to make sure it's going to reach you if you're on the western half of the country. Just to be absolutely sure that it gets there on time. It could possibly get to you, but I can't guarantee it. Oh, thanks, Brent. I appreciate that. Will it work on goths too? Yeah, yeah. That's the fun thing. There's Slap Rangoon. The fun thing about vampire stakes is they work on vampires. They also work on everything else. Um, if you put a stake through the heart of just about any living creature, it will work on them as well. They're very multi-purpose that way. However, please don't stake anyone with my stuff. Really, as I always say, I don't want to end up on the news like that. So please don't. Please don't do that. Please don't stake any human beings with my vampire stakes. That is not how I want to end up on the news. As the guy who made vampire stakes that were used to murder someone. Like, please don't do that. No, please. Don't unalive anyone with my stuff. It's for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, Brent, I'm glad you stumbled upon it. I make a lot of weird stuff. You actually stumbled in around the end of things, but I was going to do some show and tell here at the end. Let me put this up. I got a few projects in the works that I wanted to show you guys, and probably a few items that I have in stock for the Halloween season that for some reason people are not finding them. I don't know why, but I would love to show those off. This is a one-time piece. I don't know if I'll be making this exact dagger again because this was made from a cutoff. A lot of times I will salvage cutoffs from jobs that I work during the week. This is one of those. So once this is gone, this is gone. So, but this will be listed later today on the shop. Speaking of which, you can find my shop. I have a link in my link tree. I would highly recommend going to the eBay shop. Don't go to warriorwoodandprops.com unless you just need a custom order. I was running that website through Shopify, and Shopify messed something up. And I can't get a hold. They apparently don't have customer service. So, yes, but also for vampire emergency situations. Absolutely, Jagafe. If you run into an actual vampire, then yes, please do use my stakes. Don't use any of the pine ones. Because as we already covered, you don't want to find out that it doesn't work because it's evergreen wood, which you're not supposed to stake vampires with evergreen wood. Write this stuff down, people. It's important. Let me toss these real quick. But yeah, the shop is on eBay. The main website, there's a contact me button at the top. If you want to email me to ask about a custom order, you're more than welcome to do that. I work in home renovations, Captain Ken. I was a marketing copywriter as my day job until probably about 2 months ago. I got laid off about 2 months ago from my job. They were doing a corporate rearrangements or structural rearranging of the company or whatever you call it. And anytime I've ever worked for a company and they're doing layoffs, the copywriter is usually the first person to go. That's been my experience anyway. And to be honest, I was kind of done with it. I've been laid off so many times from having corporate jobs. So I had an opportunity to work for a guy that runs the shop next to mine. He does home renovations, painting, stripping paint, that kind of stuff. Countertop painting, kitchens, drywall, that kind of stuff. So I am a site prep specialist for him now. My job is to go in, strip paint, sand, get everything ready for him so that he can come along and paint. If it's something, unless it's like it just needs to be restained, then I do it. So yeah, I started working in home renovations a couple months ago. I like it. It's fun. I don't have to be sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day because I really wasn't a fan of that. But yeah, I get up in the morning, I go to the job site, I do what I do for about 8 hours, and then I come back and I'm done. And my days start early, so my days end early, which is also kind of nice. But when I'm working in these home renovations, a lot of times we're pulling out, sometimes people are pulling out old molding, or they're pulling out support beams, or they're replacing legs on tables and stuff. And a lot of times that stuff just goes in the trash. So I'm able to salvage it and repurpose it. Not everything I make is made out of that, but some of my stuff is. And the really nice thing for me is that we work in a very high end area of town called Boca Grande. It's a key island off the coast, off the Gulf Coast, and most of the homes there are $1 million homes or more. Some of them are in the tens of millions. Very expensive homes, very wealthy people. So the upside for me with that is they tend to make their home stuff out of extremely expensive wood. Last week I stripped, sanded, and re-stained and resealed 8-foot high mahogany doors. I don't know why they needed 8-foot high doors, but and the molding was actually more like almost 9 feet with the molding, but doors themselves were 8 feet high, which is very high. I was at another house where they had faux like roof strut supports. They were made out of mahogany. One of the first jobs I did, these people had a generator, an external generator, that was integral to the house. And so they had an enclosure for the generator. The entire enclosure was made out of ipe wood. Ipe is not cheap. Stuff's very expensive. And matter of fact, I've got a salvaged piece of ipe fencing that I got from a job where they had to replace some boards. So I'm gonna probably make some ipe palm UR out of that, but it's gonna take some cleaning. Like it's gonna be beautiful when it's done. Here, I'll show you. It's gonna be beautiful when it's done, but it's you can see why they had to replace the board. It's ugly as hell. It's ugly and dirty. So I will be cutting, cleaning, and sanding these to make a bunch of pocket UR. Maybe some other stuff out of ipe. We'll see. I've never gotten to make a dagger out of ipe, so I might do that. I feel like an ipe dagger would be cool. Ipe's it's right up there with pau ferro. It's a very strong wood. It's not as strong as pau ferro, but it's pretty close. You can only visualize the height with a bunch of subway footlongs. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I know. I don't use the metric system. My apologies. Oh yeah. So I mean, we'll do a little show and tell since we're not even close to being over time. So one of the other things I started working on this week. This one's gonna take me. It's gonna take me probably a few more weeks to get this finished. This is going to be a Polynesian war club. This is rosewood. I got most of it shaped out. I had to take a draw knife to shape out the sides and edges. It's going to. I'm probably going to shave this interior part down just a little more because it's very front heavy. I mean, it's a club. I realize it's supposed to be front heavy, but it is. It's 4 feet long, so it is crazy front heavy. So I'm probably going to shave this down just a little bit to remove some of the mass. And it's also, when I get done with it, I got a whole bunch of tiger shark teeth here. So it's going to get lined with tiger shark teeth on the inner curve of the striking, and it's going to get a row of tiger shark teeth right here. And then I'm probably going to take a Dremel and do some carvings. I need to do some research on Polynesian, what the carvings are and what they mean. I'm not just going to look at some Polynesian stuff and start doing designs. That's how you end up accidentally doing stuff that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to research Polynesian carvings from their weapons and see what the meanings are. And I'll probably do some carving. And the handle will get a wrap. I haven't decided what I'm going to wrap it with. Most likely it'll be, I'm trying to look into what they used in Polynesian. It's like, I don't think jute is an appropriate material. So I'm going to figure out what they used and see if that's something I can make or order. But yeah, this one's going to be fun once it's done. Oh yeah, this is gonna cost me probably close to $100 to ship. This is not going to be a cheap item. This is probably going to cost anywhere from $400 to $500 once it's done. This, and it's going to take me time. This is not going to be a fast build. I'm probably going to put about 12 to 15 hours into this thing. So, you know, I got to charge for that as well. You know, so yeah, this is going to be probably close to a $500 piece when all is said and done. It's going to look cool as hell though. And it's going to be a beast. So it's going to be beefy. All right, you guys, what do we want to see for show and tell this week? Do we want to see Halloween stuff? Or do we want to see other, like, weapon stuff? Like, do we want to see practice weapons or do we want to see Halloween stuff? What do we want to look at first for show and tell this week? Vampire stuff or Halloween stuff? Unfortunately, like a lot of my Halloween stuff got sold. I've got like a stack of stuff on my desk in the office that I have to pack later today because it's got to get shipped out tomorrow. Halloween stuff, you got it, Captain Ken. All right, let me go check out some stuff. I'll be right back. Let me go grab a few items. So these are some of the newer stuff and also some older stuff that for some reason I just don't know what's going on with eBay, but the algorithm isn't showing people. This is the vampire bat that I was talking about earlier. I've talked about this a lot. I've got about 3 of these in stock. I usually list them one at a time because sometimes I have people buy them off of eBay, so I don't want to sell them to someone off of eBay and have them. But it's a pun, but it's also a really fun prop. It is a baseball bat. This is an actual functional baseball bat with a stabbing stake tip, but that way you can get a little bit of melee in before you stake the vampire. This started out as a joke. The first one of these I made it as a joke, but then people started buying them, so I kept making them, and they're fun to make. And I just dress the handle up so that it looks dirty, like it's been used, and I rub ashes into it so that it just kind of looks. You don't want it to look new. You want it to look like something you've used before. This is another one where I've had people for custom orders. I think Jockafe actually has one where they've asked for blood effects, and so I will do blood effects on it by request. But for the most part, I just sell them like this. Yeah, these are up on the shop. I think the one that's up on the shop right now is slightly longer than this one. This is one of the shorter ones. I think the one that's up on the shop right now is like 31 inches. I think this one's like 29 maybe. And then these are my more fancy schmancy vampire kits. You have it? Yeah. But these are my more fancy schmancy ones. These are hickory daggers. They have a stain with a jute handle wrap. The reason I started making this kind, I have ones that aren't stained, that don't have the handle wrap. However, for the last couple of years, there's a guy around Christmas time, he would buy like 18 of these from me, and I always wondered what he was doing with them. And when I switched to eBay, I found out what he was doing with them was he would buy them from me, he would distress them, he would like cut, you can see there are like cuts in it. He would put cuts in it, and he would break the handle. He wouldn't wrap it. He would break it. Then he would turn around and sell it as an antique vampire hunter stake for like over $100, which is insane. So if you would like to get the exact same design, but nicer, I sell these for about a quarter of what he sells them for. I think I sell these for like 30 or 40 bucks. Whereas he sells his for like well over 100, which is ridiculous. And also not an antique, But yeah, I love these. These are fun. Like if you are doing a vampire hunter costume and you really want like to stick out, like I feel like these do the trick because they really, you know, it's not a standard vampire stake. That extreme taper gives it more of a dagger look. Definitely turns head, and also if you have like a way to like strap it to you, it looks really cool. This I made this last week. This is the second and last of the limited edition stakes that I made out of Palfero. This is the same wood as those pocket Uara I showed earlier. It's got a spiral grind on the handle. What is what called? Oh, this? I think on my shop it's just called a hickory dagger vampire stake. If you go on eBay and just search for hickory vampire stake, this will come up. Like just search for hickory vampire stake, and my stuff will show up almost immediately. But yeah, these are available. I've got a lot of these in stock still, which I'm surprised about. Normally in the holidays I sell out of these, and it just seems like eBay's, I don't know why, unless you search specifically for it, it doesn't seem like it's getting in front of people. I'm not sure what that's about. I pay for promotion. I pay promotional fees through eBay for all of my stuff, unfortunately, and it doesn't seem like it's getting promoted quite right. But these are awesome. I love making these. These are great. But this is the limited edition. Also, you can just go to my shop. If you can find the link in my link tree in my bio. That'll take you to my shop, and just click on the vampire stakes. There's a section in the middle of the page on my shop that says vampire stakes at great prices. Just click on that and you'll pretty much see every vampire stake I've got. But this one is limited edition. This is probably the most expensive stake that I have. Yeah, it's on sale right now. There's a $100 stake, but it's on sale with 13% off, so it's $87 right now. There's no shipping. It comes with a certificate of authenticity. It comes with a serial number. This is one of only 2 that I've ever made, and I will not be making these again. So once this one sells, the other one that I made already sold. Once this one sells, there will not be another. This is it. I won't ever make this design with this wood ever again. I might make that design again. I might make a stake out of that wood again, but you will never see this combination of wood and design. These are one of my natural wood stakes. I make a lot of natural wood stakes. I don't always stain them, but the stain I thought looked really good with this one. This one's also on the shop right now. This one, again, I made this one probably a month ago, and it just doesn't seem like it's getting in front of people for some reason. But I love this. This is like one of my favorite ones of my natural stakes, because even though it's got a lot of like twists and turns to it, somehow it still evens out. So when you have it in the staking position, the stabbing tip is still even with your hand, even though it has a bunch of curves to it, which I thought was really cool. When you have that center grip like that, it keeps it in line with your hand. But it's got a lot of attitude to it. It's all twisted and curvy. It's got a very sharp tip. That one's a lot of fun. So yeah, if you guys are interested in vampire stakes, go to my shop. Warrior Wooden Props, you can find it in my link tree. There's lots of vampire stakes. If you want to need practice weapons, I make those as well. I make a lot of different kinds of props. I make con-safe sai. I'm sold out of those right now. I've got one more set left of my injection molded rubber sai. Unfortunately, these have some warps in them, so I'm currently trying to keep them viced down here so that the warps will come out so that I can paint them and wrap them. I make an Electra style of these, and I make a Raphael Ninja Turtle style of these. But unfortunately, I'm sold out of these for the rest of Halloween. I make everything from practice weapons to con-safe stuff. Let's see. What else do we want to see? How do I do what with the sai? The painting or the rubber? No, I don't heat them. No, this is done with an injection mold. It's just I have a company that I get them through now. I used to try to do them myself, but it's too long. But what it is it's a rubber that is injected into a mold, and it comes out. There is no core to it, which is why it's con-safe. But it's also why sometimes it can take warps. You can get them out though. It's rubber, and if you hold it in place long enough, But yeah, it's just I buy it from a company that does injection molds. I tried to do the injection molds myself, and I had about a 90% success rate with that. Like sometimes they would come out great, sometimes they wouldn't. But I found a company that used the exact same mold I was using, and they have a bigger operation, so it's not super expensive for me to buy these. Uh, Honestly, the injection mold, the rubber, all that stuff, it ends up being about the same cost. So uh, for me to just buy them from them, so I started doing that because I like to keep my costs down. But once I get these, I give them a couple coats of primer. Depending on whether it's Raphael or Electra. If it's Raphael, I give it a metallic aluminum finish so that it looks a little less shiny, because Raphael's size aren't really super shiny. If it's an Electra one, I use a chrome paint so that it looks very silver, so that it's super shiny like hers. And it gets a red handle wrap. With Raphael's, I use a faux leather to go up the prongs and down the handle, so that it looks similar to like how his look in like the I think it's 1989. I can't remember. The original Ninja Turtle movie, the live action one. I don't remember if it was 89 or 90 or 91. Somewhere in there it was when it came out. But yeah. So I model those after those. But those are fun. Let me go see. I got a couple of big items. I think I've shown them before. I don't know if anybody wants to see those or not. My vampire stake hammers. I have giant staff hammers that are for vampire hunters. They're pretty fun. Tell you what, I'll go grab those. Give me a sec. Let me go put a couple of these things back. Again, when it comes to my vampire hunter stuff, these are probably some of the more expensive ones. These are big boys. This one I call the Scythe or the Reaper, because it's got kind of a Grim Reaper scythe look to it. Well, that way you stake the vampire with a hammer. Actually, the inspiration for this came from Alita Battle Angel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Alita Battle Angel, the anime or the live action movie, but the doctor in that, he has this weapon which is like a staff with like a spiked hammerhead on it. It's got a rocket behind it, so when he swings it, the rocket activates to make it swing faster. No rocket, but same concept principle. I thought, you can stake with it like that. It's also got a stake tip, so you can use it as a forward spear. But yeah, that one's fun. Holy shit, huh? The Raphael you've grown to love and snarky, sarcastic version. Oh, yeah. Raphael always had the attitude. That's always his thing. The original character of Raphael in like the graphic novels and comics, I would say he was still hot-headed, but maybe not to the degree, and cocky, but not like, he wasn't, I don't know. He's always kind of portrayed as the grumpy one, and that really wasn't his portrayal in the original graphic novels and comics. I still remember the first time I read a Ninja Turtle, and that was the old school red band Ninja Turtles where they all had red headbands. I was probably 10 years, maybe 9. I might have been 9 years old. And we were I was 10 because we were living in Oklahoma. It was right before we moved to California. And I was 10, and we went into this comic book store, and I see this comic book on the shelf, and it's got Raphael. Raphael was on it, and he's standing like this with his sai like pointed down, and there's a word bubble over his head. It's like, we're gonna kick your butt. And I thought that was the most amazing thing ever, and I bought it. and I read it, and I absolutely fell in love with Ninja Turtles. And I never heard of Ninja Turtles before, and so I started buying the comics and reading them. They were not for kids, by the way. The Red Band Turtles was more of an adult, not like pornographic or anything, but just not really a kid's comic book. It had some. They were very violent. You know, they were independent comics, so they didn't have to worry about Comics Code Authority. So there were some bad words and violence. Well, if one day my mother started looking at my Ninja Turtle comics, and she was not happy. She got rid of them, which I was very upset about. But about a year or two later was when the Ninja Turtle, about a year later, I think, was when the Ninja Turtle cartoon came out, and I was super excited for the Ninja Turtle cartoon, and then they had changed it. It wasn't, it was like more for kids, so I wasn't a super big fan of that. This is the other one of these. Sorry, no segue. This is the other Vampire Hunter stake hammer that I made. I call this one the sagging cross, because when you hold it this way, it looks like a sagging cross, because the cross beam that I made the stakes out of had kind of a downward slope to it. So, but same concept. It's got a stabbing tip that you can use as a spear, and you can swing from either direction to use it as a staking hammer. You can also stake straight down with it if your vampire's in the coffin. So yeah, that one's a lot of fun too. Both of these are up on the shop. They're as I said, definitely more expensive than my other stuff, but they're handmade. They took me a while. It takes a while. Those stake heads, I have to do that by hand. Those stake tips on those big hammer heads. So I had to carve them, and then I had to grind them out after that. It takes a while. Same with these, with these vampire bats, that's the longest. This is the longest part. This is the part that takes the most time. It's just getting the tip of a baseball bat shaved down and grinded into a vampire stake tip. Yes, it is Halloween stuff. I just got done doing my finishing work there, Chris, and so we're doing a little show and tell. This is the last week of me doing vampire builds in my shop, and so I'm just kind of showing off some stuff that I got. I've got some other stuff I can show you guys, but it's all already been sold. So I don't know if you like my prop machetes. I made 2 prop machetes. Both prop machetes have sold. Yeah, sure. I can show you the cross one again. Absolutely. This is that's the cross one. It's got a stake tip on top. But I call it the sagging cross because the hammerhead tends to slope down a little bit. And it's got a cotton cord handle wrap. Oh, try not to stab the ceiling. And it's got a very long stake stabbing tip, so it can be used as a forward spear. Yeah, that's the cross, and I've got another one that I call the Scythe or the Reaper. That's a little smaller, but similar concept. This one just has the one end of the stabbing tip, so it's more like a hammer. And it's got a paracord wrapped on the handle instead of the cotton cord. Also, fun fact, these hammerheads are made from southern live oak that I harvested from a very big oak tree that was brought down by Hurricane Ian back in like 2022. The center pole on the Scythe, the center pole is maple. On the cross, I believe it is what is it? I'm trying to think. It's not maple, but it's a basic hardwood. I think it might be poplar. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I made it. I have to go look at the listing. I can't remember. It might be. Oh wait, you know what? I think it might be yellow pine. How much is it? That's a great question. I think both of them, they're on sale right now, so I don't know what their price is right now. But both of them are a little over $100. But that's the shipping on them is free, or it's included in that price. But if you go to my bio in my link tree, you can find a link to my eBay shop. If you just go to my eBay shop, you'll find them, or go to eBay and look up vampire steak hammer. It'll come up somewhere in the search results, most likely. But both of those are over 100. Not a lot over, I don't think. But right now, everything in my shop's 13% off. So that's their retail price. Right now, they're marked down. So, and that's another one of the things that in November is going to be more expensive, because the Postal Service, they increase their prices, especially on longer stuff in November. So starting probably November 2nd, those are going to cost probably about 20% more than what they cost right now. So they're definitely going to be about $20 to $30 more expensive come November 2nd. I will be doing sales, obviously, during the holiday season, but the prices right now during the holiday season are about as low as you're going to see them until the end of the year. Unfortunately, I have to increase my prices because I don't charge shipping. I just include the average cost of shipping in my prices, because people don't like to deal with shipping. And so when the Postal Service increases their prices, I have to increase my prices, unfortunately. So if you want something, definitely right now, great time to get it. My prices will be going up in November, even though I will be having a sale. The prices will not be lower than they are right now. All right, guys. You guys want to do one more? One more round of show and tell? What do you think? One more round? Eh? All right. Well, one more round of show and tell. Let me go see what else I got that I can show off to you guys. It's fun. All right, some of you have probably seen some of these at least, but not all of you. Let me put these off to the side real quick. So this, I had a custom order last year. I had a guy who wanted I can't remember what it's called. Days Gone, I think is the name of it. It's a game. He wanted an axe bat with saw blades. So I made one for him. But usually when I make something that I haven't made before, I do a proof of concept first. This was the proof of concept bat. His didn't have this paint job. His was just regular bare wood. But this one, I call it the no-brainer. It is an axe bat. This is also up on the shop. I took a circular saw blade, cut it in half, flipped it so that the teeth go down in both directions. So no matter which way you swing, you always have teeth going in the direction of the swing. It's a neon orange and black relief, no-brainer on the side, and then black baseball bat wrap handle. This is one of my favorite battle bats I think I've ever made. I'm honestly going to be sad to see this one go when it does. It's super cool. I love this one. I also do make custom battle bats. Those are available on the shop. If there's a type of bat like this that you want to see made, you can get it. And I highly recommend contacting me before you check out, though, on eBay if you're going to do one of these. Just to let me know what you want. For two reasons. One, that way I have an idea of how long it's going to take me. These never take me more than 3 weeks. Usually it takes about 1 to 2 weeks to finish a bat. I make my custom battle bats a priority when I do have a
a battle bat. But here's the thing. So sometimes people just want a regular baseball bat, or they want something very simple. If you're looking for something that's maybe not that complicated, but you want a bat, yeah, it is a brutal weapon for sure. But I would recommend contacting me and telling me what it is you want, because I might be able to do it for you for cheaper than what's that custom battle bat listing on my eBay is set to basically the most expensive possible bat you could ask for. I did used to have a deluxe custom battle bat listing for people who wanted to do like LED lights or resin attachments and things like that. I will still do that, but I don't do that for the regular listing. You need to contact me and let me know if you need me to, like, there need to be lights or electronics or moving pieces or anything crazy like that. That's not included in the regular listing. So that one's fun. This is white ash vampire hunter sword that I made. It's got a bladed edge with a stabbing tip. It's really light and well balanced. I really enjoyed making this one. It almost feels like a rapier, but definitely will pierce ribs easily. But it's fun. This one, I had a long cutoff of white ash from a custom build that I had to do for somebody. They wanted a specific width of their blade, so I had this kind of narrow cutoff, and I thought it would look really cool as like a vampire hunter sword. And I brought this one out. This is kind of a Halloween / holiday item. I make these I have two different designs of these. These are my Monkey King long cudgels. They have metal studs embedded in both ends. They have a center wrap. This one is the gold. I also do one with a brown center wrap, and it has dark hammered bronze instead of that light gold color stud. So it looks a little more rustic, a little more beat up. This one has more of that gold look to it. Some people like either. For Monkey King, I call these Monkey King Wukong cudgels or long stabs. But back when the Wukong Black Myth video game came out, I had already started. I already had those in my shop. I had been making them for a while, and all of a sudden they were selling out like every day. How do I find wooden bats to work on? That's a great question. So it's not that hard. What I don't buy like my bats from like retail. I don't do that. If you're gonna use bats for the kind of stuff that I make them for, you're just wasting money if you're buying bats. Best thing to do is buy bat blanks. There are two kinds of bat blanks I recommend. If you need it to be perfect, which most of the time you don't, if you're going to be reshaping it or working it like I do, I don't need them to be perfect. But they have game ready bats. If you look up game ready bat blanks, you can find them on Etsy or Amazon. There's a great company called Crafts for Bats. It's Crafts, the number 4 bats, that I buy most of mine from. But they are also what are called blem bats, which are great. Blem bats, so baseball bats go through a really, really like crazy quality assurance process. If there's anything, the slightest imperfection in that bat, they can't sell it. That means it can have like the tiniest of knots, or they put it on like a leveler to make sure that there is absolutely zero warp. And if it's like more than like a fraction of a degree, then that bat can't be used. So these bats, there's really nothing wrong with them. They're just not perfect. And so usually those are the bats that those are the bats that I buy. I buy usually a lot of blem bats. I have two different kinds. I'll buy junior bats, which are usually about 26 to 32 inches, or maybe 26 to 28 inches actually. And then I also buy adult size bats, which are about 27 to 32 inches. The only downside with it is you don't really control what the length of the bats are when you buy blem bats like that. What they do is they'll grab a bunch of blem bats from a lot, put it in a box and send it to you. The only downside is also every now and then, this has only happened to me like maybe once, possibly twice, where I would order like 12 bats, for example. I usually buy all my bats at once each year to keep my costs down. Is you might have one bat in the lot that is just horrible. It's just unusable. But the nice thing for me is a lot of times that's usually there's something wrong at the top of the bat. So I'll just grind the bat into a vampire bat and sell it that way. So, you know, I have a use for it. But that's where I get my baseball bats. I get them from Crafts for Bats. Usually there's a couple other vendors that I also use if Crafts for Bats doesn't have what I need in stock. But if you just look up Blem Bat, Blem stands for blemish. It just means that it's a bat that wasn't perfect when they went through quality assurance. It's baseball bats, if you don't know, especially wooden ones, are extremely expensive. The finished ones are. That's why they're extremely expensive, because probably about a quarter of them get tossed out for not being perfect. So by the time you go buy like a finished baseball bat, you know, it's one of many that have been tossed out. It's been perfectly sanded. It's been finished. You know, it's had a logo burned into it, the whole deal. So you're paying a big markup. You're not going to spend less than $50 on a wooden bat. But if you buy Blem bats, you can get them for a lot less expensive. Did that answer your question there, Ken? I can show you what my bats start out looking like, actually, if you want me to. Because they're also not finished at all. Because before they go for QA, they hit the lathe and they go to QA from there. So when you buy a Blem bat, it's not at all finished. So like this one, as you can see on the handle here, you know, it's still, I have to sand that out so that it's doesn't have that lip on it. And there's also a lip on the top from where it was cut from the lathe. So all that has to be done. They're not sanded at all, so I have to sand them, prime them, paint them, do whatever it is the customer wants. This is one of my junior size bats. And this is one of my adult size bats. So like I've got all different lengths. That's why I usually buy one lot of junior little league bats, and I buy one lot of big boy bats. But you can see this one also, that one doesn't have quite a lip, but it's not rounded off at the top. So I have to do a little bit of finishing work to these, but they work great. How are we doing on time? Let's take a look. All right. Still a nice chunk of wood, yeah. And the other thing is, so used to be all baseball bats for the most part in the U.S. were made out of ash. Like I've said before on my lives, ash wood is getting harder and harder to come by because of the emerald ash borer beetle. So a lot of the bats I get are maple. Hard maple is the preferred substitute. Every now and then an ash bat will find its way into the lot that I buy, but ash bats are insanely expensive. If you buy an ash bat, you're looking at least $120 or more for a baseball bat if it's made out of ash. So I don't really charge different for mine because they all cost the same for me. But if you can buy a bat from me, it will be made either out of hard maple or ash. Those are the only two woods that really they make baseball bats out of. And you can request ash. I can't guarantee you that I'll have it. But maple, it's fine. Maple works great. Well, you guys, I think that's going to be it for show and tell this week, unless anybody has any specific questions or anything that they want to take a look at, that they want me to go grab and show. But other than that, I'm pretty much done. If you're interested in looking at anything you saw on here today or seeing what my shop makes, you can go to my link tree in my bio, and there is a link to my eBay shop. There's also a link to warriorwoodandprops.com. Unfortunately, The main inventory is not functional right now because Shopify sucks. And I would just like to cancel my Shopify, and I can't even do that because they don't have anyone to contact. Everything's automated, and their bot has no idea how to tell me what to do. So, but yeah, but my eBay shop, all my full inventory is on the eBay shop, so you can go there. If you want a custom order, you can contact me through any of my eBay listings, or you can go to warriorwoodandprops.com. At the top of the page, there is a contact me or custom orders button at the top. Click that button. It will send me an email, and you can let me know what it is you're looking for, if it's custom, or you can, like I said, you can just direct message me here on YouTube, Instagram. I'm on Instagram as NATRBROWN37, NatRBrown37. Instagram, that's my Instagram handle. But you can contact me through any listing that I have on eBay, or you can use that contact me button on the main website. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it, Jockafay. Thank you all for showing up. I really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. This has been a crazy, spooky season. I'm really looking forward to Halloween this year. One more week of orders, and then I'm moving on to get ready for the holidays. But yeah, this has been fun. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I appreciate y'all taking the time to hang out with me this Sunday morning. I know it's early or late, depending on where you are. But anyway, yeah, all you guys, let's get it. And I will see you guys. Matane. I'll see you later. Ken, everybody who had questions, Joe, thank you guys so much. Jay Bro, thanks for all the fishing questions, fishing stuff from earlier. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. I am live every Saturday around 12:30 and every Sunday around 7:30 a.m. And that's Eastern time. So if you are available and you're awake, feel free to come join me. As always, this has been Warrior Wood and Props. I'm out, you guys. Take care.